In a remote valley, concealed by wisps of fog and the whispers of ancient trees, stood an imposing castle. Its shadowed towers reached towards the sky, piercing the clouds like jagged teeth. The walls were made from dark stone that absorbed the light, making the castle appear both beautiful and fearsome. Stories of this fortress had traveled through the ages, filled with tales of magic and mystery. It was said to be home to a powerful vampire king who ruled over darkness and night. If you enjoy this video, please like the video and subscribe for more, and tell me where you are watching from today. I always find it awesome to see where all my viewers are watching from. Let's get back to the video. Legend spoke of the Vampire King's past, a time when he was not so feared, but rather a brave protector of the realm. With eyes that glowed like burning ember and an air of unmatched grace, he walked among people, earning their love and admiration. But everything changed when tragedy struck. His beloved was taken from him, swallowed by shadows and lost to time. The tale turned darker as he found himself shunned by the world he once protected. Fear transformed admiration into terror. As the sun dipped below the horizon each night, whispers filled the air about what might unfold within those castle walls. People claimed that inside, shadows danced under flickering candlelight, and secrets lay hidden in every crevice. The villagers shared stories of strange sounds echoing through the valley, soft laughter that turned quickly into chilling silence, and glimpses of cloaked figures roaming at midnight. Yet, beneath this chilling facade, some believed there was still warmth left in the Vampire King's heart. It was said he longed for companionship. His loneliness surrounded him like an unbreakable spell, haunting his every moment in solitude. One fateful night edged closer to legend as dark clouds gathered overhead. A fierce storm brewed on the horizon, and winds howled angrily through branches like restless spirits. Lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating the castle in bursts of brilliant white light, while thunder rumbled ominously in response. In this stormy night's turmoil, fate decided to change everything for both the king and his kingdom. At that moment, wrapped in a faded blanket and left at the gates of destiny, lay a tiny baby girl. She brought with her an aura of innocence that contrasted sharply with her surroundings, a fragile beacon amid dark spires. The castle's twisted iron gates creaked open slowly against howling winds, as if responding to a silent call, only meant for those who believed in magic. The Vampire King felt something unusual tugging at his heart when he arrived at the gate, drawn not just by storms, but by a flicker of light beneath all shadows. As he knelt down before her small form, rain cascading around him like silver ribbons, an unexpected warmth spread through him. It was as if the storm itself held its breath at this moment. The king's hardened heart cracked slightly open, as though allowing hope to seep back inside. And there it was. An instant connection sparked between them as their eyes met for but an instant. A bond forged from mysterious forces beyond comprehension. Deep green reminiscent of ancient forest leaves reflecting moonlight told tales yet untold. The storm raged on, lightning illuminating the castle's dark towers while thunder rolled like an angry beast. Rain poured in heavy sheets, drenching the land and flooding the valley with a sense of wild turmoil. It was during this fierce tempest that the unimaginable occurred. A soft sound broke through the howling wind, a cry so faint yet filled with desperation that it floated through the night like a whisper. Near the castle gates, hidden amidst puddles glimmering under the pale moonlight, something small stirred. There, cradled in a faded blanket that had seen better days, was an infant girl. The fabric was warm and worn, lovingly wrapped around her tiny form to keep her safe from the storm outside. Despite being abandoned on such a wretched night, she radiated an aura of innocence and purity that seemed to shield her from impending darkness. As the baby cried out again, a gentle breeze swept through the iron gates of the castle, almost as if they were beckoned to open. The sound drew the Vampire King closer, his heart pounding not just from surprise, but from an emotion long buried deep within him. Curiosity mixed with a hint of hope. He had not felt such feelings for years, buried beneath layers of sorrow and solitude. He stepped forward cautiously, the rain soaking his cloak as he approached the fragile creature lying before him. The moon's silver light bathed her face, revealing soft features and delicate tufts of hair curling around her forehead. She could not have been more than a few weeks old, yet already she possessed an otherworldly beauty that captivated him entirely. Kneeling down beside her, he reached out tentatively, brushing aside droplets of rain clinging to her cheek. In that moment, time stood still as he gazed into her eyes, deep green like ancient forest leaves shimmering in sunlight. It was a striking color that conjured memories of love lost and dreams once cherished. He felt as though he recognized them from somewhere deep within his heart. Wrapped in silence amid chaos, their connection sparked with unspoken understanding. While thunder crashed overhead and wind howled like lost souls seeking refuge, she looked back at him with wide eyes, full of trust and innocence. An unexpected bond forming between two lonely beings amidst despair. In this enchanted moment, enveloped by shadows yet illuminated by moonlight's glow, the Vampire King found himself entranced by this little girl who had arrived at his doorstep against all odds. He gently lifted her into his arms as if she were made of glass, fragile yet precious, and felt warmth seep into his cold heart. With awe, every heartbeat echoing in rhythm to her soft breaths against his chest, he realized something profound. Destiny had woven their paths together for a reason. No longer alone in his castle filled with darkness and silence, he vowed to protect this child who had unknowingly broken through his fortress of despair. As they stood there at the threshold between night and dawn, hope began to flicker anew within him. A promise whispered by fate itself, that perhaps together they could create a new story amidst shadows long cast away. As the storm continued to howl around the castle, the Vampire King held the tiny baby gently in his arms, her warmth a stark contrast to the chill of the night. He gazed down at her delicate features, marveling at how such a fragile being could evoke feelings he had almost forgotten. His heart swelled with surprise and curiosity, each emotion swirling within him like the tempest outside. The king's mind raced as he tried to comprehend this unexpected turn of fate. Who had left this innocent creature at his gates? Why now, after so many years of isolation and heartache? He was accustomed to silence, to shadows that danced where laughter once echoed. Yet here she was, a beam of light breaking through the heavy clouds of his solitude. Her small hand twitched as she nestled into his cloak, seeking comfort from the cold. He couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder as she instinctively turned toward him, her deep green eyes wide and trusting. There was something familiar in those eyes, an echo from his past that stirred memories long buried under layers of grief. Each blink seemed to carry whispered stories, and with each fleeting glance, he found himself more entranced. The Vampire King had witnessed countless moments of life and death in his long existence, yet nothing could compare to this feeling. He thought about all the times he had roamed the vast halls of his castle alone, haunted by memories of lost love. The presence of this child ignited a spark deep within him, a flicker of hope that perhaps he could find warmth again in this cold world. As raindrops cascaded off the castle's stone walls, he knelt beside her, examining every detail. The curve of her nose, the softness of her cheeks, even the way her tiny mouth formed small O's as she observed him with curiosity. The storm's fury faded into the background as he focused solely on her fragile existence. Nothing else mattered in that moment. "Who are you?" he whispered softly, almost afraid to break the magical spell surrounding them. "What secrets do you carry?" He felt foolish asking such questions when she was merely a babe, but there was an urgency to understand this mysterious gift that fate had delivered to him. With every heartbeat that echoed through the castle corridors, he sensed an inexplicable connection forming, one that sparked a longing for companionship and purpose. Memories flashed before him, laughter shared with loved ones beneath, clear skies, warm embraces on chilly nights, and promises made with sincerity. All these recollections intertwined with the baby's existence before him. A possibility for new beginnings woven into their shared fate. Daringly, he traced a fingertip along her brow as if testing reality. To his surprise, she cooed softly in response and wiggled closer against him. In that simple act, she seemed to dissolve some of his hesitations. It became evident that she was not just an unexpected burden, but rather a beacon of potential joy amidst his lingering darkness. With determination settling into his bones like steel, he realized he would protect her fiercely. This child would not only change his life, but invigorate it with purpose anew. Perhaps they would uncover hidden paths together, ones that led away from despair and toward a future filled with warmth and love. In that chaotic moment filled with thunder and rain, he pledged silently to cherish this bond that felt so right. Their story was just beginning. As the Vampire King cradled the baby girl in his arms, he couldn't help but be captivated by her striking eyes. They were an unusual shade of green, radiant and vibrant, reminiscent of emeralds glistening in sunlight. Such a unique color was rare, even among the countless souls he had crossed paths with over the centuries. It sparked something deep within his memory, a faint echo of a love long lost. He found himself entranced as he stared into her eyes, feeling a rush of emotions flood over him like the rain that still pounded against the castle walls. Each time she blinked, he saw flickers of familiarity, an uncanny resemblance that stirred the depths of his heart. Her gaze was innocent yet wise, as if she carried secrets with her, secrets that were meant only for him to discover. It was not merely the color that caught his attention. It was the way those eyes sparkled with life. In this moment of softness and vulnerability, they held a strength that resonated with him in ways he could not explain. He could almost hear whispers from his past, calling out to him through the baby's gaze. Memories began to unfold like delicate petals of a flower. He remembered another pair of eyes, vibrant and full of warmth, that belonged to his beloved, taken far too soon by fate's cruel hand. Her laughter echoed in his mind, filled with light and love, contrasting sharply with the shadows that now consumed him. It was as if the universe had conspired to bring back a fragment of her spirit through this child. "What secrets do you hold?" he murmured softly, his voice barely above a whisper as he searched the depths of her gaze for answers. In return, she cooed softly, oblivious to the emotions swirling around them, yet somehow offering comfort through her mere presence. In that moment, the king felt a decision solidify in his heart. He would protect this child as fiercely as he had once protected those he loved. He recognized now that destiny had placed her at his gate not just for companionship, but to reignite a flicker of love and purpose within him. feelings he thought were buried forever beneath layers of grief. The world outside may have been tumultuous and chaotic, but here in this sacred space between father and daughter, they discovered tranquil harmony amidst chaos. With each passing moment, their bond deepened, as if she understood the weight of his sorrows and sought to share her light with him. As raindrops cascaded against the stone, the king brushed his thumb across her cheek, marveling at how her skin felt warm against his cold fingers. Those captivating green eyes began to weave threads of a new tapestry, one rich with possibility and hope. Together, they could create a tale steeped in magic unlike any other, one where shadows would rescind and light would take place. And so he resolved to name her after all that she represented, a second chance at life filled with joy and adventure. In her gaze lay a promise, a reminder that even amid darkness, there existed beauty worth embracing. As thunder rolled in the distance, he felt exhilaration course through him. The chapters of their story awaited writing together, starting on this stormy night where fate had surprised them both. As the vampire king gazed into the baby girl's vibrant green eyes, a rush of memories surged through him like a powerful tide. Those captivating eyes reminded him of another time, another place, of a woman who had once filled his heart with light. Her name had been Alara, and her laughter was like music that danced through the air, bringing joy to everyone around her. He could almost hear it now, echoing faintly in the corners of his mind. Alara had possessed eyes just like this child's, radiant and deep, sparkling with life and mischief. They were a color he had never encountered again in all his years, a rare hue that seemed to capture the very essence of nature itself. The way they shimmered under the sun held an enchanting quality that drew him in completely. It was as if she held entire worlds within those orbs, each glance revealing secrets only he could uncover. He remembered how she would tease him playfully, her eyes twinkling with delight as she challenged him to races through the forest. Those days felt so far away now, clouded by shadows of loss and regret. The brightness of their shared moments contrasted sharply with the darkness that enveloped him after fate took her from him. A cruel twist of destiny that left him alone in a castle filled with echoes. In those quiet moments spent together, she had confided in him about her dreams and aspirations, speaking passionately about a future they could build side by side. But when tragedy struck, everything shattered like fragile glass. Alara's laughter faded into silence, her radiant spirit extinguished by forces beyond their control. Now, as he looked at this tiny girl cradled in his arms, he felt an overwhelming sense of connection. It was as if Alara's spirit lived on through this innocent child, an unexpected chance to revisit the love he thought lost forever. The baby's presence stirred deep emotions within him that he believed had long since turned to stone. Feelings he had carefully buried beneath layers of sorrow began to awaken. "What have you come to teach me?" he whispered softly to the child, more to himself than to her, as he brushed his fingers gently over her cheek once more. She cooed in response, blissfully unaware, yet somehow reassuring him with her presence, her mere existence reigniting hope and purpose in his heart. He realized that perhaps she wasn't just a reminder of what was lost, but rather a symbol of what could still be. A new beginning wrapped in delicate innocence. Memories of Alara intertwined with dreams for this little one. Visions of laughter shared over warm fires under starlit skies flooded his thoughts. In that moment of clarity amid chaos, he vowed not only to protect her, but also to nurture this bond that felt so profound. He sensed that together they could create a life filled with joy, where shadows no longer dominated. where love could flourish again despite past pain. As thunder rumbled outside and rain continued its relentless assault on the castle walls, he held the baby closer, feeling warmth radiate between them like sunlight breaking through clouds after a storm. Destiny had brought them together for a reason. Perhaps it was time for both father and daughter to embrace their shared journey toward healing and rediscovery. With every heartbeat echoing in rhythm with hers, he felt an unbreakable connection forming, a legacy waiting to unfold. And for the first time in many years, hope blossomed anew within his heart. As the storm raged outside, the Vampire King found himself in the quiet chambers of his heart, wrestling with a decision that could change everything. He cradled the baby girl against his chest, her warmth a soothing balm to his cold existence. The castle, once a place of laughter and life, had become a hollow shell, filled only with echoes of his past. Now, however, this tiny creature had the power to fill those empty halls with the sound of hope. But doubt nagged at him like a persistent shadow. Could he truly be a father? The weight of responsibility pressed heavily upon him. He was a king, yes, but also a being of darkness who had witnessed loss and betrayal. Would it be fair to raise a child in such a world? What if he failed her? Those thoughts swirled in his mind like the storm outside, relentless and swirling with uncertainty. He paced slowly across the chamber, glancing back at the baby who gurgled softly in her sleep. She seemed so peaceful, so utterly innocent. In that moment, he was reminded of Alara, the warmth of her smile, her laughter that would light up the darkest corners of his soul. She had dreamed of family and love. Perhaps this child was a chance to fulfill those dreams after all. He paused, staring out of the tall windows at the rain-soaked landscape. The wind howled as if urging him to make a choice. Would he let fear dictate his actions once again? Or would he embrace this unexpected gift? The longer he hesitated, the more he felt an ache in his heart. A longing not just for companionship, but for the chance to nurture and protect. Am I strong enough? He whispered to himself, uncertain whether he could open his heart again after so much pain. But as he looked down at the sleeping baby, he noticed how her tiny fingers curled around his thumb, a gesture that sent shivers through him. She had chosen him, just as fate had brought her to him on this stormy night. With each passing moment, clarity washed over him like the rain against the castle walls. He began to envision their future together, laughter echoing through the halls, stories shared by the fireplace, and warm embraces under starlit skies. He could raise her to be strong and kind, to help her discover her own path in a world that could be both beautiful and dark. Taking a deep breath, he made his decision. He would keep her. This child would be raised as his own daughter, a new legacy born from the ashes of loss and grief. I will protect you, he vowed softly, his voice barely above a whisper. You will not know the loneliness I have known. A sense of calm enveloped him, as if the storm outside had subdued along with his fears. He could feel hope flickering within him like a candle igniting in the dark. A promise that they could face whatever challenges lay ahead together. In that moment, as he held her close and felt her soft breaths against him, he knew this was just the beginning of their story. Together, they would weave a new tapestry filled with love, laughter, and perhaps even healing for both their souls. The Vampire King was no longer alone. He had chosen to embrace love once more, an act of courage amidst shadows. And for the first time in ages, he allowed himself to dream again. As the seasons changed, the castle transformed into a vibrant home filled with life and laughter. a stark contrast to the darkness that had once surrounded it. The baby girl, whom the vampire king had named Alara after his lost love, grew rapidly under his attentive care. With each passing day, she blossomed like a delicate flower, her laughter echoing through the grand halls and filling the empty spaces with warmth. The castle itself seemed to breathe alongside her. Enchanted creatures began to appear once more, drawn by the joyful spirit of the child who had breathed new life into these ancient walls. Playful sprites flitted about in the gardens, their shimmering wings catching the sunlight as they danced among the blooming flowers. They delighted in Alara's giggles, showering her with tiny blossoms that floated like confetti in the air. In one corner of the spacious courtyard stood a magnificent willow tree, whose branches trailed down like curtains, providing shade and shelter. It became Alara's favorite spot, her secret hideaway, where she could dream and imagine endless adventures. Beneath its sprawling limbs, she would play games with mischievous pixies who whispered stories of forgotten times and distant lands filled with magic. As she grew, so did her curiosity about the world around her. The Vampire King took great joy in sharing tales of his past, of battles fought and kingdoms protected, while also teaching her about kindness, courage, and love. He watched as she absorbed every story like a sponge and marveled at how her bright green eyes sparkled with excitement at each new revelation. The king also introduced Alara to other magical beings residing within their enchanted realm. Wise old owls perched on branches above offered counsel when needed, while gentle unicorns roamed freely across sun-dappled meadows just beyond the castle walls. The creatures became guardians to Alara. They sensed her innocence and purity and vowed to protect her fiercely. Each evening after dinner, they would gather around a roaring fire in the great hall. The flickering flames painted pictures on stone walls as stories swapped back and forth among them. The king recounting tales from his time as a protector, while Alara shared wild fantasies woven from her imagination. Laughter mingled with shadows as warmth enveloped them. Those moments became treasured memories, cementing their bond. Yet even amidst this newfound joy, remnants of sorrow lingered, a reminder of what had been lost before Alara's arrival. The Vampire King often found himself staring out at distant mountains where shadows lay thick. He was reminded that darkness still existed outside their sanctuary. But every time he looked down at his daughter's smiling face or heard her laughter ring out through the halls like music from another realm, he felt renewed purpose swelling within him. Life in the castle was now an adventure marked by love and discovery, a journey unlike anything he'd ever known before. No longer just a solitary ruler dwelling in isolation, he was now part of something greater, a family forged from hope and resilience against all odds. And so their days passed in harmony. Together they created a tapestry of experiences rich with magic that intertwined both past sorrows and future dreams, a beautiful reminder that even amid darkness, there could always be light waiting to shine through again. As Alara grew, it became increasingly clear that she was no ordinary child. By the time she reached her 3rd birthday, whispers of her unique abilities began to circulate among the enchanted creatures residing in the castle and its surrounding lands. The Vampire King watched in awe as subtle hints of magic began to reveal themselves, making everyday moments feel extraordinary. One sunny afternoon, while playing beneath the majestic willow tree, Alara was picking flowers with giggles that rang like bells in the warm air. As she reached for a delicate blossom, she accidentally brushed her fingers against a patch of wilted daisies nearby. To everyone's astonishment, the flowers perked up instantly, their colors brightening as they sprung back to life. The sprites flitted about excitedly, chattering amongst themselves about the miracle they had just witnessed. The king knelt nearby, his heart swelling with pride and wonder as he saw Ilara's expression shift from surprise to delight. She clapped her hands in joy, unaware of the power that had just shown itself under her gentle touch. That day marked a turning point. Both father and child realized that she possessed an extraordinary gift, one that could nurture life itself. In the following weeks, more curious occurrences came to light. When she was feeling particularly playful, Ilara could make the wind dance around her, sending leaves swirling and creating little whirlwinds at her command. The gentle breeze would respond eagerly to her laughter, lifting her hair like ribbons, unfurling in celebration of joy. Her connection with nature deepened. Birds would often land on her shoulders and whisper secrets in song as if recognizing a kindred spirit. Though wondrous, these powers brought a new layer of responsibility for both Ilara and the Vampire King. He felt a stirring urgency to ensure Ilara understood the significance of her gifts and how they were part of something greater than herself. He shared stories about guardianship, of how magic should always be used lovingly and wisely. With great power comes great responsibility, he told her one evening as they sat before a warm fire in their great hall. He watched her bright eyes sparkle with determination as she nodded thoughtfully. She was ready to learn. As news of Ilara's abilities spread throughout their enchanted realm, many creatures began to visit their castle out of curiosity. She quickly became friends with wise old owls who taught her about the stars and the moon's cycles, while unicorns would make appearances at twilight to play games with her in moonlit meadows. Each encounter filled Ilara's spirit with awe and wonder as she learned from them all, absorbing everything like sunshine soaking into soil. Yet amidst this excitement lay challenges too. With every new ability came whispers of uncertainty from those who were wary of such power. Some feared what might arise if someone attempted to exploit it for selfish ends or darker intentions. The castle's inhabitants felt torn between admiration for Ilara's potential and caution regarding what that potential meant in a world rife with danger. The Vampire King sensed these worries and took it upon himself to protect his daughter fiercely, not only from outside threats, but also from within her own heart, ensuring she remained grounded amidst praise and admiration. Each day brought fresh adventures filled with laughter, learning, and exploration. A beautiful tapestry woven together by love and understanding in their enchanted home. As Ilara embraced her powers, it became clear that she was destined for something greater. Together with her father by her side, they would navigate this magical journey, exploring realms beyond imagination while discovering their true selves along the way. And so life unfolded within those castle walls, a harmonious blend of magic and heart, preparing both father and daughter for whatever challenges awaited them down the winding paths of fate ahead. As Ilara flourished in her magical abilities, a shadow loomed over the peaceful castle. Unknown to the Vampire King and his daughter, old enemies stirred from the depths of darkness, attracted by whispers of the child's extraordinary powers. These rivals were remnants of a time when the Vampire King ruled with strength and feared authority. They had once conspired against him, their hearts hardened by envy and resentment. Among them was a formidable sorceress named Lady Selene, who had long sought vengeance against the Vampire King after suffering defeats in their previous confrontations. With dark hair flowing like night and piercing blue eyes that seemed to see right into the soul, she had gathered her followers, rogues and dark creatures who thrived on chaos. Her ambitions revolved around Ilara. It was said that whoever wielded her power could command nature itself and reshape reality. On a moonless night, under the cover of shadows, Lady Selene and her minions approached the castle. They moved silently through the creeping mist like phantoms slipping through time, driven by greed and desire to claim Ilara's abilities for themselves. They would stop at nothing to pit father against daughter, to sow confusion and lure Ilara away from her father's shield of love. The king had felt an ominous change in the air, a disturbance that he could not quite grasp. As he stood on the castle walls one evening, the wind carried strange whispers that felt almost like warnings. He glanced at Ilara playing in the garden below, laughter ringing in his ears like music. The sight ignited his protective instincts. He could sense that something nefarious was lurking just beyond their sanctuary. Days turned into nights filled with uncertainty as Lady Selene put her plan into motion. She sent messages carried by dark crows, spreading tales of hidden wonders and promises of power to tempt Ilara's imagination. Each time one of those birds flew overhead, Ilara would look up with wide eyes full of curiosity, unaware of the trap being set for her. One evening, while they sat together by the fire, Ilara spun stories of daring adventures infused with magic, not knowing that her words were precisely what Lady Selene wanted to hear. Under the cover of kindness, she had already begun to weave a net of deceit around the young girl's heart. The sorceress understood that children are drawn easily to dreams wrapped in mystery. They look for magic wherever they can find it. Meanwhile, the Vampire King remained vigilant, sensing a shift in Ilara's behavior as she began to express an insatiable thirst for knowledge about her powers, an eagerness fueled by those dark whispers outside their walls. He gently reminded her about using her gifts wisely and staying true to herself. But as days passed and their enemies grew bolder, doubt began to infiltrate Ilara's thoughts. She pondered whether her powers could be used for great deeds beyond just healing injured flowers or listening to birds sing secrets. The allure of adventure tugged at her heart. Recognizing that it was time to confront this looming threat head-on, the Vampire King decided he must reveal everything he knew about Lady Selene and her past misdeeds. Truths that must be shared if they were to thwart any impending danger. The king quietly prepared his defenses, rallying allies among their enchanted creatures who would stand guard against forthcoming threats. In secret meetings under starlit skies with wise owls and brave unicorns, plans were laid out to protect Ilara while teaching her how to harness her abilities responsibly. They would need courage and resilience as challenges drew nearer. But together, they would face whatever darkness came for them. The bond between father and daughter would be essential, not just for protection, but also for clarity against confusion spread by sly deception. In those moments leading up to the inevitable encounter with their enemies, there was still love woven into uncertainty, a heartbeat shared between them growing stronger with every breath. And as dusk descended over the valley, Ilara's laughter mingled with hope. This castle created from shadows would learn once more how to shine through adversity. The Vampire King stood on the castle battlements, gazing out at the valley that stretched before him like a vast tapestry of shadows and light. The sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the landscape. But the peace was deceptive. He could feel the tension in the air, a palpable sense of danger creeping closer with each passing day. With the threat of Lady Selene and her dark minions looming, he knew he had to act swiftly to protect his daughter. Determined to fortify their defenses, the king summoned his most trusted allies. He sent word to the wise old owls who had long guarded the castle's secrets and the noble unicorns who roamed freely in the meadows. These creatures were not only fierce protectors, but also wise counsel, their insight invaluable in this time of uncertainty. They arrived with urgency, their presence bringing a sense of reassurance that filled the castle with renewed hope. "We must strengthen our barriers," the Vampire King stated firmly as they gathered in the great hall, where flickering candles cast dancing shadows on the stone walls. "The magic surrounding Alara has drawn attention, and we cannot underestimate our enemies. We need to create wards that will protect her from those who seek to exploit her gifts." The owls nodded, their large eyes shimmering with understanding. Together, they devised a plan to weave protective enchantments around the castle, using ancient spells that would create a barrier impenetrable to dark forces. The unicorns, with their powerful magic and grace, offered to lend their abilities to bolster these defenses. They would channel their energy into creating safe zones within the castle grounds where Alara could play freely without fear. As plans took shape, he realized that protecting Alara required more than just physical barriers. It also meant teaching her how to harness her powers responsibly. He dedicated time each evening after dinner to share stories of bravery and wisdom, instilling in her an understanding of the importance of her gifts. "You have a light within you, my dear," he told her one night as they sat by the fire. "It is your responsibility to shine brightly, but also to guard against those who would seek to snuff it out." Alara listened intently, her bright green eyes sparkling with determination. She practiced daily, learning how to control her powers so that they would not become a source of vulnerability, but rather a wellspring of strength. Meanwhile, news of their preparations spread throughout the enchanted realm. Allies began to arrive from near and far, fierce creatures who had once fought alongside the Vampire King in battles long past. A band of centaurs galloped into view one crisp morning, ready to lend their strength and agility should danger arise. They offered their keen senses and swift movements as guardians patrolling the borders of the kingdom. As days turned into weeks, the atmosphere around the castle grew charged with anticipation and camaraderie. Alara's laughter filled every corner as she played alongside her newfound friends, the sprites darting about her like shooting stars, while wise old owls perched nearby, keeping watchful eyes on everything transpiring below. Yet even amidst this growing sense of security, the Vampire King remained vigilant. He sensed that Lady Selene would not sit idly by while they fortified their stronghold. There would likely come a day when she would strike, a test of all they had prepared for. And so, under a sky painted with stars that twinkled like diamonds, they committed themselves to readiness, both for battle and for nurturing love within their family. Days were filled with training and laughter. Nights were spent in strategy and shared stories around flickering fires. In this harmonious blend of preparation and joy, Alara bloomed like a flower nourished by sunlight, brightening their lives even as shadows loomed beyond their sanctuary. The Vampire King knew that together they would face whatever darkness awaited them, united by love and fortified by friendship and resolve. They would emerge stronger than ever before. As the days turned into weeks, Alara's curiosity about the world around her blossomed alongside her magical abilities. Now nearly 4 years old, she was no longer just a child sheltered within the castle walls. She was eager for adventure and discovery, ready to explore the vast landscape that lay beyond her haven. With the Vampire King's approval and guidance, Alara began her journey of exploration. Each morning, as the sun crested over the valley and bathed the world in light, her father would send her out with wise old owls who served as guides. "Today, you will learn about the forest," he would say, his voice filled with encouragement. The owls flapped their great wings, soaring above, as Alara followed, her laughter blending with the rustle of leaves. The forest was alive with wonders that captivated Alara's heart. She discovered streams glistening like diamonds, where fish danced beneath the surface and dragonflies flitted about like jewels sparkling in the air. With each new sight, she felt a surge of excitement, knowing that she could influence it all with her growing powers. When she whispered gentle words to flowers, they would bloom brightly in response. When she giggled at a swarm of butterflies, they fluttered around her in a whimsical dance. Yet it wasn't just nature that intrigued her. It was also the stories that echoed through the woods. The wise old owls shared ancient lore about the land's history and its magic. They told tales of brave protectors who had once stood against darkness and legends of creatures who roamed the earth before humans came. Alara listened with wide eyes, thrilled by the idea that she was part of something much larger than herself. One day, during an exploration deeper into the enchanted realm, Alara encountered a graceful unicorn grazing in a sun-drenched meadow. The creature raised its head, its silvery mane flowing like liquid light. Alara approached cautiously. She felt an unexplainable connection to this majestic being. As she gently reached out her hand, the unicorn nuzzled against her palm, sensing her kindness and purity. "Will you teach me?" Alara asked in wonder, finding courage in her own voice. The unicorn seemed to understand and lowered itself beside her, allowing her to climb onto its back. Together, they galloped across fields of wildflowers, the wind rushing past them like a song of freedom. In that moment of joy and exhilaration, Alara felt as if she were discovering not only her powers, but also parts of herself she hadn't yet known existed. As word spread of Alara's adventures, more magical creatures began to seek her out, drawn by her gentle spirit and unique gifts. Mischievous sprites often joined in on her escapades, introducing playful mischief into their explorations while teaching her to harness joy through magic. They showed her how to create tiny whirlwinds from nothing, just a flick of her wrist, and fill the air with shimmering sparkles. Yet amidst these joyous discoveries and newfound friendships, Alara also grew aware of shadows lurking in the corners of their vibrant world. Her father had advised her of those who might wish to cause harm. She began to understand that with great power came great responsibility. Determined to be a protector just like him, Alara often returned home filled with stories and wisdom she'd gathered from her travels. She shared every detail with her father, lighting up his heart as he listened intently. Their bond deepened with each tale. He marveled at how his daughter was not only embracing her gifts, but also seeking ways to navigate both light and shadow. And so their days passed in a beautiful blend of discovery and learning. A harmonious dance between a father teaching his daughter about strength, while a little girl discovered magic within herself. Through every adventure they shared together, Alara forged a path toward becoming not just a skilled user of magic, but also a compassionate protector, ready to face whatever challenges awaited them in their ever-evolving story. One fateful evening, as twilight draped the valley in hues of deep blue and purple, a sense of unease settled over the castle. The air crackled with tension, and the Vampire King sensed that something was amiss. Alara had been playing just outside with her friends, but he felt an instinctive pull to bring her inside. As he called for her, the soft sound of laughter faded, replaced by an eerie silence that prickled at the back of his neck. Suddenly, a chilling wind swept through the courtyard, carrying whispers that echoed with dark intent. The Vampire King stepped out onto the balcony, his eyes scanning the horizon. In the distance, he saw shadows gathering, figures moving stealthily through the mist. Lady Selene had come at last, determined to reclaim what she believed should be hers. "Alara!" he shouted, his voice urgent and commanding. She raced toward him, her laughter cut short as confusion filled her bright green eyes. "We need to get inside now," he said firmly, ushering her into the safety of the castle walls. As they reached the great hall, Alara looked up at her father with worry etched on her face. "What's happening?" she asked, sensing his unease. "Lady Selene and her followers are approaching," he replied, determination hardening his voice. "We must prepare ourselves." With fear hidden beneath layers of courage, Alara nodded and stood beside him. Together, they gathered their allies, the wise owls perched above, and the noble unicorns standing firm in the courtyard. The Vampire King explained their situation, and a plan was quickly formed. "This is our chance to face them together," he said, kneeling down to meet Alara's gaze. "You have powers beyond your understanding, and now it's time to use them. Remember all that you've learned." He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder as she nodded resolutely. As darkness enveloped the castle grounds outside, they positioned themselves strategically at the castle gates. Alara felt a rush of energy surging within her as her father began to chant protective spells. The air shimmered with magic as she concentrated on what she had learned. She remembered how to create gentle whirlwinds and summon bursts of light, not just for play, but as tools of defense. When Lady Selene finally emerged from the shadows, flanked by a horde of dark creatures, she looked imposing and confident. Her piercing blue eyes scanned the battlements before settling on Alara with an unsettling hunger. "Ah, sweet child," Selene called out mockingly. "You've grown. Come to me, and I will show you wonders beyond your imagination." Alara felt a shiver run down her spine at the sorceress's words. There was manipulation woven into her invitation. The Vampire King stepped forward protectively in front of her. "You will not touch my daughter," he declared fiercely. In that moment, Alara felt bravery swell within her, a mixture of love for her father and confidence in her own abilities. She stepped beside him, facing Selene with newfound strength. "I will not go with you," she shouted defiantly. With a sudden flick of her wrist, Alara summoned a burst of radiance that illuminated the night sky like fireworks, sparking light that sent ripples across the battlefield. The radiant energy surged forward toward Lady Selene and her minions, pushing them back momentarily. The sorceress faltered, surprise flashing across her features as she raised her hands to shield herself from Alara's light. "Foolish girl, you think you can defeat me?" she roared angrily. But with each spell cast by the Vampire King and each spark of light conjured by Alara, their bond grew stronger, fueled by mutual trust and unwavering love. They fought side by side as a united front. Alara's laughter mingled with her father's powerful commands as they harnessed their combined strength against darkness. Moments turned into eternity as they confronted their enemy together. Fear transformed into courage amidst a backdrop of swirling magic and determination. And when victory finally came, a retreat forced upon Lady Selene, their spirits soared with relief and triumph. As the dust settled and shadows retreated from their castle walls, Alara turned to her father, eyes wide with awe and joy at what they had accomplished together. The Vampire King pulled her into a tight embrace. "You were extraordinary," he whispered softly against her hair. In that embrace lay not only pride, but also reassurance. Their journey together had only just begun. They had faced fears side by side and emerged stronger than ever before, ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead in their enchanted world. In the wake of their victorious confrontation with Lady Selene, a sense of calm settled over the castle. But beneath the surface, a shadow of doubt began to take root in Alara's heart. Despite her emerging powers and the bond she shared with her father, questions about her origins lingered, whispering in the corners of her mind. One evening, while sitting under the great willow tree, she asked her father a question that had been nagging at her for some time. "Father," she began hesitantly, "where did I come from? Why was I left at the castle gates?" The vampire king paused, weighing his words carefully. He had hoped to shield Alara from the complexities of her origins for a little longer, allowing her to enjoy her childhood without the burden of an uncertain past. But as he looked into her earnest green eyes, the very eyes that reminded him of his lost love, he understood that truth could no longer remain hidden. With a sigh laden with both sadness and responsibility, he knelt before her. "My dear Alara," he started softly, "there are things about your past that you deserve to know. You were left at the gates during a time when darkness was threatening our realm. A gentle moon shone upon you when I found you, a sign of hope amongst despair." Alara listened intently as her father continued. "Your mother was a powerful sorceress, known for her connection to nature and magic. She protected our kingdom fiercely from those who sought to harm it, including Lady Selene." The king's voice trembled slightly as he spoke of Alara's mother, emotions stirred by memories long suppressed. "She feared for your safety," he explained, "knowing that those who coveted power would seek you out when you began to show signs of your gifts. In an act of love and sacrifice, she left you behind in hopes that I could provide you safety within these walls." As understanding washed over Alara, tears glimmered in her eyes. "But what happened to her?" she whispered softly. "The day she left you here was also the day she vanished," he replied, pain etched across his face. "She took on great dangers to protect our kingdom, but was ultimately betrayed by those she once called allies. I vowed to safeguard you, not only because I loved your mother, but because I believed in the light she brought into this world." Alara felt emotions swell within her. Grief for the mother she never knew, combined with pride in the legacy she carried. As pieces fell into place about her identity, Alara's heart grew stronger. She felt connected not just to her father, but also to a lineage filled with courage and magic. In that moment of revelation under the willow tree, Alara understood that with knowledge came power, and with power came responsibility. She resolved then and there that she would honor her mother's legacy by embracing her abilities fully and using them not just for herself, but for the good of their kingdom. Strengthened by this newfound understanding, Alara stood tall next to her father. "We will keep our kingdom safe together," she declared with unwavering determination. The vampire king smiled proudly as he wrapped his arms around his daughter, a gesture filled with love and protection. Together, they would navigate whatever challenges lay ahead. From this bond forged through vulnerability and courage would spring forth not just their resilience, but their collective destiny. As night descended upon the valley once more, a sense of unity enveloped them, like a warm cloak against chill winds. An unbreakable tie between father and daughter now intertwined with threads of history and purpose. Together, they were ready to embrace anything life dared throw their way, ready to write new chapters steeped in bravery and hope as true protectors standing against encroaching shadows. With the threat of Lady Selene now behind them, the atmosphere within the castle shifted from tension to hope. The sun rose higher in the sky, bathing everything in golden light as Alara and her father prepared for a new beginning. They stood on the balcony overlooking the valley, feeling a sense of unity as they looked out at their home, which had grown so vibrant with life. "Today marks a new chapter for us," the Vampire King said, turning to Alara. We've faced darkness together, and now it's time to embrace all that lies ahead." Alara beamed up at him, her bright green eyes reflecting the determination in her heart. Inspired by her mother's legacy and empowered by her newfound understanding of her powers, she felt ready to face whatever challenges awaited them. "I want to help protect our kingdom," she declared, her voice strong and resolute. "Together, we can make it even better." The Vampire King's heart swelled with pride as he watched Alara speak with passion. He knew that she was not just his daughter, but also a force of nature in her own right, a beacon of light destined to shine brightly against any darkness that might approach their castle again. They began making plans to strengthen their connection with neighboring kingdoms and magical allies, fostering peace throughout the realm. The Vampire Kings organized gatherings that brought together creatures from all corners: elves, unicorns, sprites, and wise owls, to discuss ways they could work together to ensure the harmony. Alara took an active role in these meetings, eager to learn from powerful beings and contribute her ideas. One day, as they gathered in the great hall beneath banners adorned with symbols representing each allied species, the Vampire King addressed their guests. "Our strength lies not only in our magic, but in our unity," he proclaimed passionately. "Let us commit ourselves to safeguarding this land and nurturing our bonds." As cheers echoed around the room, Alara felt a rush of excitement wash over her. She raised her hands and summoned tiny sparks of light that danced across the hall like fireflies. The enchanted creatures gasped in delight as she shared her joy through magic. Their laughter mingled with hers, spreading warmth through every heart present. Days turned into weeks, filled with newfound camaraderie. Together, they celebrated festivals honoring nature's bounty, while forging deeper connections between their worlds. Alara found herself often exploring these friendships further, teaming up with fairies to learn about weaving spells from flower petals or participating in fluttering dances alongside lively sprites who taught her how to harness joy through movement. However, amidst these moments of happiness lingered whispers of caution, a reminder that old enemies had not vanished entirely from their world. The Vampire King remained vigilant. He taught Alara how best to stay alert and discern hidden dangers while still finding joy. They practiced together daily, he training her in combat techniques, while she infused those lessons with bursts of magic that reflected her essence. One afternoon, during a training session outside castle walls, as they practiced under the watchful eyes of friends both old and new, a sudden rustle echoed through the trees, a chilling reminder of what could come at any moment. "Alara," he called out firmly but calmly when he sensed danger lurking nearby. She tightened her grip on her prepared spells, ready to defend themselves should there be threats ahead while standing bravely beside her father. But as shadows passed through gaps between branches, tentative silhouettes slowly emerging, it became clear this wasn't an enemy, but rather an unexpected visitor. A long-lost ally arriving heralded by golden rays filtering from above. The two exchanged glances filled with recognition before rushing forward together to welcome this newfound friend back into their lives, strengthening both their defenses against encroaching shadows while further solidifying their family unit forged through love and mutual support. In embracing their future with open hearts and facing every challenge together, Alara and the Vampire King learned that growth stems from adversity, as they collectively wrote new chapters filled with magic, woven tightly into tales woven throughout history. Emerging stronger than they'd ever been, while secure within each other's warmth against whatever came next on their journey ahead. As Alara and the Vampire King moved forward from their recent victory, a sense of excitement filled the castle, hinting at the adventures yet to unfold. With renewed purpose, they turned their attention to not only protecting their kingdom, but also exploring the vast expanses of magic that awaited them in the world outside. Each day brought new opportunities for growth and discovery. One bright morning, as dawn broke through the trees, casting shadows across the courtyard, Alara approached her father with a glimmer of mischief in her eyes. "Can we visit the Whispering Lake today? I want to see if I can communicate with the water spirits," she exclaimed, her voice bubbling with enthusiasm. The Vampire King smiled at her eagerness. He had long known of the lake's magical properties, where whispers of old spells and ancient lore could be heard if one listened closely. "Yes, my brave daughter," he replied, his tone filled with warmth. "But remember to remain vigilant and respectful of their wisdom." As they ventured out toward the lake, guided by enchanted creatures that flitted around them, Alara felt a flutter of excitement in her heart. She could already sense the energy of the water spirits calling to her, a sweet melody resonating through the air, like music. With every step, she took closer to the lake's shimmering surface. Anticipation tingled within her. When they arrived at Whispering Lake, its waters sparkled like jewels under the sun. They stood at its edge, and as Alara closed her eyes and extended her arms toward the water, she felt a gentle breeze swirling around her. "Spirits of the lake," she whispered softly, letting her voice carry over the surface. "I seek your guidance." To her surprise, ripples danced across the water's surface as delicate voices emerged, intertwining with wind and waves. The water spirits responded, their ethereal forms shimmering into view. Glimmering figures adorned with flowing hair made of droplets and gowns woven from aquatic plants. "Dear child of light," one spirit spoke softly, its voice like a gentle lapping wave. "Your heart is pure, and your intentions noble. We have watched you grow, and your connection to nature is strong." Alara beamed with joy at their words, feeling validated in her quest for knowledge. "Can you teach me more about harnessing magic from nature?" she asked eagerly. The spirits nodded in unison, their faces glowing with approval. They began sharing secrets of elemental magic, the ability to summon rain clouds or coax plants to grow with just a flick of her wrist. Each lesson revealed new ways for Alara to connect with the world around her. Meanwhile, as father and daughter immersed themselves in this magical exchange, a shadow slipped silently behind them, a reminder that not all attention was benevolent. The Vampire King sensed something lurking nearby. Instinct urged him to remain alert even amid this wondrous moment. Just as Alara began practicing what she learned, shaping small streams of water into playful shapes, a dark figure emerged from behind a tree, a familiar face he knew all too well. Lady Selene had returned. But this time would be different. The bond forged between father and daughter had grown stronger. They would not face this challenge alone. Alara's newfound abilities surged within her as they stood united against their old enemy. "Leave while you can," the Vampire King warned fiercely, stepping protectively in front of Alara while wielding an aura that radiated strength. Instead of backing down, Selena smirked, a twisted grin showcasing both confidence and malice. "You think you can protect her forever? There are forces beyond your control," she taunted before launching an attack. Alara felt fear creeping in, but remembered her training and the love that enveloped them both. With confidence she had gained from learning beside her father and receiving guidance from magical allies, she raised her hands toward Selene. "Stop!" she shouted defiantly, summoning power from whispers in the lake and every flower blooming nearby. As waves of energy swirled around her and alongside howling winds, the scene unfolded before them like a tapestry revealing their destinies intertwined. In that moment of confrontation blossomed hope. Together, they would turn adversity into triumph once again. They were not just king and daughter, but true partners ready to embrace whatever mystery lay ahead. Each step forward painting new chapters filled with courage, adventure, and an unyielding legacy waiting to unfold amidst shadows, forever banished by light.